Welcome to Keeping Score. I'm Rick Horrow. Each week we bring you insights from the playmakers, deal makers, and rule makers in the world of sports. I'll give you my take on some of the items of the week using my 30 years of experience doing deals for teams, leagues, and players in the $750 billion business of sports. Plus, we'll talk with a central figure in the sports world. The views expressed in this podcast are my own and do not represent the views of Reuters. Let's get started. The head of the International Olympic Committee is defending the group's decision not to ban all Russian athletes from the Rio Games. The country came under scrutiny following revelations of a state-backed doping program across many sports. The IOC instead chose a set of criteria for athletes to meet, including a clean doping past and sufficient testing at international events. So far, 250 out of the original 387 Russian athletes have been cleared to participate. IOC Chief Thomas Bach says the blanket ban would have prevented clean athletes from competing, which would have been wrong. And after spending a great deal of time with him last July in Toronto, I believe President Bach is genuinely committed to transparency, but he's also firmly committed to protecting the rights of each athlete, a considerable dilemma in some cases. Don't look for Brazil to benefit economically from the Olympics. UBS analysts telling clients in a note this week that most games are money-losing propositions for host cities, even when taking long-run benefits into account. They say with the price tag of well over $10 billion in a country already facing considerable strains on its fiscal accounts and corruption charges, the Rio Olympics are unlikely to be an exception to the rule. The analysts, though, do think Brazil will rebound in the second half of the year from its deepest recession in 80 years. Post-Olympic legacy is always hard to quantify. Australia, Atlanta, London, successful. Greece, Sochi, hardly. Now it's Rio's turn to write their chapter in the Olympic history books. And ignore what fans say, follow their money instead. Fans across Oklahoma expressed disappointment when star forward Kevin Durant of the Oklahoma City Thunder signed with the Golden State Warriors this offseason. However, that didn't stop them from snapping up his new jersey, according to sports apparel site Fanatics.com. Oklahoma was one of 30 states where Durant's Warriors jersey was the top seller in July. In its first week on sale, the jersey actually outsold the first week of sales of the LeBron James Cleveland Cavaliers jersey after he decided to return to the team in 2014. Well, I got my Durant Team USA jersey at the dismantling of the Chinese national team versus Team USA in Oakland last week. Number 5, by the way, not the 35 he'll wear with the Warriors. Maybe Oklahomans bought his jerseys for one big farewell bonfire. Now, companies from Nike to Garmin to Fitbit are offering wearable technology for runners and walkers and exercises of all kinds. One you may not have heard of is Whoop, which is focused on optimizing the performance of serious athletes, especially relevant heading into the Olympics in Rio. I spoke with founder and CEO Will Ahmed.
So, how does a Harvard College scholar and captain of the Harvard's men's varsity squash team join a couple of Harvard guys and prepare this? Give us an elevator speech of how you created this idea.
Yeah, I mean, I was fascinated by the space, and then I was also personally, someone who would overtrain or undertrain or misinterpret fitness peaks as an athlete, and I felt like there were a number of athletes who, also were going through similar challenges of properly measuring recovery or sleep or strain in general. So I did a lot of physiology research while I was at Harvard. I met with a number of cardiologists and physiologists. I read something like 300 medical papers, and I wrote a paper on how I thought you could continuously understand the body. And in the process, I met John Capiloupo, one of my co-founders, our CTO. John was studying the hardest math class at Harvard, and his father is actually an exercise physiologist. And then we also met Aurelia Nicolai, who was one of the best mechanical engineers at Harvard and could rapidly prototype. And the fourth person that we recruited is Martin Overhauser, who is widely considered one of the best information graphics designers in the world. And the four of us set out to create sort of a minimum viable vision around how we could create hardware and software and analytics to really unlock performance. And that was in 2012, and we've been at it for 4 years now. Today we've got 50 employees in our Boston office, and we're fortunate to work with professional athletes, collegiate athletes, Olympians, and the military.
But an MVV, minimum viable vision, that's a first. Was that created as a kind of parameter for all future economic modeling that you were doing? Did it just come to you at one night? How'd you create the template?
Well, the overall framework for monitoring the body was really framed around some of the problems that we saw athletes were encountering. So in particular, if you think about overtraining, it's really just a mismatch between strain and recovery. So if you have a low recovery and you're taking on a lot of strain and you're doing that every day, you're overtraining your body. And what you want is your recovery and your strain to be at an equal level. That's optimal training. And so, from the beginning, we had this vision around, monitoring the body through the lens of strain and recovery. And, those are two of our key pillars on our platform, and I think a big differentiator for us in the space. Whoop is the first product to continuously monitor the body around strain and recovery.
Obviously, the elite athlete, from a marketing 101 perspective, gives you visibility and exposure. But how adaptable is this product to the weekend warrior?
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're proud to announce our Generation 2.0 product, Whoop Strap 2.0. It's going to be shipping before the end of the year, and it's our first public availability, so anyone can buy it. We really view the aspirational athlete as an audience that hasn't been properly served to date and deserves to better understand their body. So if you think about the high school athlete who's dealing with the stresses of school life, maybe wants to get recruited, maybe wants to be a professional athlete. If you think about the fitness enthusiast who exercises 3 to 5 times a week, likes to go to classes, exercise is part of who they are. And you also think about the endurance competitor, people who run and cycle and swim, maybe compete in marathons or triathlons. That's really an audience that I think is competitive at its core, wants to perform at a high level, whether it be with exercise or sports or actually just in their daily life. And for the Whoop system, we're able to offer the same analytics that we provide for the best athletes in the world to this aspirational audience. And I believe it's going to be a very compelling offering.
So basically, Will, the key to the differentiation of Whoops is it provides data analytics that nobody else can have, but you have to work with a personal trainer or those close to you to interpret the data. Is that correct? And to act on it?
No, so, Whoop provides many layers of data, and at its simplest level, we're measuring strain, so that's the intensity of a workout or the intensity of your overall day. We're measuring recovery, which tells you how much strain to put on your body, and we're measuring sleep. And in particular, if you think about sleep, Whoop is the first platform to actually tell you how much sleep you need before you go to bed. So we actually tell athletes, before you go to bed, this is how much sleep you need for peak performance for tomorrow. And then an athlete goes to bed and they wake up in the hours of sleep that they got. The relationship to the sleep that they needed is this concept of sleep performance. The whole system is really designed to live a step ahead of the athlete. So, you wake up in the morning, you've got a recovery. That recovery is telling you how much strain to take onto your body over the course of the day. Then over the course of the day, you accumulate strain, whether in the form of workouts or various stresses, daily activity. And at the end of the day, we look at the strain you've accumulated, and we tell you how much sleep you need to properly recover. So it's really trying to live a step ahead of the individual. And because these analytics are so personalized, it has a wider application.
The process that you've gone through and the release that you've sent out it's not in the too good to be true category, but it certainly got my attention. The study that you referred to of the NCAA athletes, 41 additional minutes of sleep each night, injury reduction by 60%, resting heart rate lowered by 4.4 BPM. These are not insignificant, plus the caffeine use reduction by 86%. Basically, how did they do it? How did you do it? And how were you able to report such fantastic successes?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Rick. It's been a little bit amazing to see how profoundly college athletes have changed behavior since they've been on the platform. I think it's no small task to get athletes to sleep more and drink less alcohol. At its core, right, Whoop is providing data that athletes haven't had before. And I think, it's easy to feel invincible when you're training a lot, or it's even easy to feel invincible just if you're that type of personality where you believe you can push your body. But when athletes started competing about how well they were sleeping and how well they were recovering, not just how much exercise they were putting on their bodies, right, but really, what am I doing the other 20 hours of the day? When there became more attention to that, and when they could see it for themselves in the data, that's when we realized there's something happening here. And you see it in the results that we've had, like you mentioned, athletes sleeping 41 minutes more per night, athletes reducing alcohol consumption, the fitness improvements, and then also we've seen athletes reduce injury reporting by 60%. So again, pretty valuable.
You said 50 employees, well capitalized, because it's a business show and a business audience. So capitalization, employees, where you're going with this, what your model to profitability is, and your path to success.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been working with professional athletes, collegiate athletes, and ultimately elite teams, and we have a business model to serve teams. So we provide the hardware for continuously monitoring the athletes. We also then create a team dashboard that allows coaches and trainers to view different athletes' data. It has a lot of customization associated with that. We have data export functionality that allows teams to export their data and overlay it with other things that they may be collecting. And then we also give teams access to our data scientists at Whoop who work closely with these teams to really, optimize performance. So that's the team business model, and, it's various subscription levels, anywhere from $100 to $200 per athlete per month. And then on the product that we're offering today, so a new product offering, Whoop Strap 2.0, that's for the hardware. It's going to provide, the aspirational athlete, the individual, with the hardware to really understand the body. And it's going to have the same baseline of analytics that we use for analyzing, the best athletes in the world. So strain, recovery, sleep, information that can be shared with other users.
After the Ryan Lochte's of the world and others perform well in the Olympics, and there's even more visibility around this product than there was before, do you see teams and pro sports leagues and colleges making this available for their athletes to maximize performance?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, the data speaks for itself in a lot of ways, and it's also a question of how important is success to these teams. And, for almost all college athletes, and especially professional athletes, there's actually dollar signs associated with winning or losing. So in that case, it's very important to make sure you're optimizing your athlete's ability to win. And then furthermore, I think it's the right thing to do from a health standpoint, because now for once you're able to actually understand the stresses on these athletes and train them appropriately.
Well, I will tell you, after listening to the story, it's an incredible company, and I wish you all the success in the world. And also, after 3 years at Harvard Law School trying to fake playing good squash at Dunster House, the fact that you were the captain of the Harvard's men's varsity squash team may be even more of a significant accomplishment than anything else. Good luck, and speak with you soon.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Keeping Score. I'm Rick Horrow. The producer of the show, Alex Cohen. Associate producer, Bethel Habte. Assistance provided by Tanner Simpkins and Carla Swadek. And the executive editor of Reuters Digital, Dan Colarusso.